Everyone goes through seasons. Some open doors, some closes them. What you do with your season determines the next level of your life. According to the law of time and chance, seasons of opportunities will come. What you do with those seasons determines the next level of your destiny. You listening, as long as you're a man and you walk the earth, seasons of opportunities will come. Seasons. And let's be financial centric because we cannot talk about opportunities without exploring the domain of finances. For some, it will come in the form of relationships, opportunities. You have access to someone who has access to someone who relays some kind of contract leading to financial benefits. Foolishly believing it's always going to be this way. You led a hedonistic life. You left little to nothing in reserve. That's the insidious part of seasons. They delude the victim into believing it's always going to be this way. There are parents in the audience nodding their head. One time they had access to an uncle somewhere who always showered them with contracts. Instead of investing the money, not just in relationship, not just in properties or any vehicle, asset vehicle, they decide to convey to the next level. But investing in the upcoming generation, the next person who would sit there, paying people, buying. I want you to understand, especially if you're a Christian, to disregard this mindset. Giving people money is somehow bribing. The Bible says this perfectly. Behold, I have sent you as sheep unto wolves. If you do not understand the laws of the jungle, you will get eaten. You form relationship, you form alliance. This life of trying to exclude yourself from politics to portray some false sense of spirituality would only leave you deluded and isolated in pain. Yes, you would get to heaven, but touching this earth, you would suffer. If you do not understand the dynamics of power, guess what? You will get eaten. Even Jesus needed men. His body hanging on a cross, and there was nobody who could bathe him. But this guy, a rich man called Simon of XYZ, I can't recall, very influential man who not only paid for Jesus' stone, but his actions were those empowered by finances. So he needed men of power. He never ignored rich people. He never tried to stratify himself or limit his influence among the peasants and the vassals in attempts to prove a point. To get a contract of XYZ. In fact, I'm not procuring the solution to the various problems you unconsciously create. Let's highlight the problems. In seasons of opportunity, like in the case of Egypt, the 7 years of plenty, it was so plenteous, they never believed one day they would be starving. They never believed one day they would offer their land, even further, offer themselves to work in exchange of food as a consequence of that abundance. It never crossed their mind that there would be scarcity. Unfortunately, still on the case of Egypt, the days of scarcity can eat up the years of plenty, such that gazing upon that individual gazing on that company, you would never ever believe one day this person was prosperous. You see this in the life of senior citizens. You would see an old man suffering as if he never got the opportunity to live a youthful life. He never got the opportunity to build and establish relationship. And you hear the story. He was once a CEO of a publicly traded company. He had zero idea. Instead of investing in the upcoming generation, he foolishly believed it was possible to remain here permanently, that he's never going to give way for the next phase of his life. Seasons of opportunity will come. What you do with those seasons determines the next level of your life. I recall one time, for seasons of opportunities, most time they can come in the form of relative to the level of service you provide. So an Uber driver hitting $1 million in his lifetime is relatively low compared to an entrepreneur who is working his ass off. So one of the ways to greatly enhance your chances of encountering opportunities is to provide services that has the potential to attract opportunity. Now, I'm not saying unable to provide services such as that excludes you from the seasons of opportunities. However, what it does, it greatly hampers the kind of access you have. So it's very difficult for an uneducated man to experience high levels of time and chance. What you might believe as time and chance relative to you is your daily experience. So for someone, eating 3 square meals a day is time and chance. For someone earning $1,000 a month is time and chance. For someone earning $10,000, $20,000, 30 grand a month is time and chance. You see how there's no figure, there is no definite term on how these seasons occurs. It depends on positioning, level of experience, and what you can offer. As convenient as seasons of times and chance are, you also need a participatory role in that activity. Seasons of opportunities will come. That's why most people win lotteries. That's why most people encounter life-changing experience. Unfortunately, they were not developed enough to handle that season. Make reference to a teaching I made yesterday. What did I call it? It's something that has to do with taking action now. I can't recall. In that video, I expound how preparing for the micro ultimately leads to the macro. Doing the small things ultimately leads to doing the large things. You're still doing the same thing, only that your results are now accentuated, backed up by various forces multiplying your efforts. So plowing the ground or having the knowledge of farming would greatly be amplified by machinery, but waiting for machines to come before you get the knowledge of a farmer will be a waste of time, a waste of that opportunity, and a waste of investment. So the best thing you can do as the average peasant is to go for knowledge. The thing you would have done if you had all the financial access, every single thing you once desired, guess what? Do it now. With a certainty, seasons like this would come. With a certainty, seasons like this would arrive. Are you prepared? Is the question you should ask yourself. Seasons of opportunity will come. Seasons. There are people who enjoying those opportunities, they had the chance of buying hectares of lands, and the only thing they're left with in old age is half plots. They spent all their money drinking and leading a hedonistic life. Unfortunately, yes, they didn't know much, but it's your fault. Take 100% accountability of every single thing that happens in my life. If it rains, it's my fault because I could have checked the news and gone out with an umbrella. If I get stuck in the mud, it's my fault. I didn't look carefully where I placed my feet. Nobody other than myself gets blamed for every single thing that happens in my life. Unfortunately, this is the mindset of a victor, and the average individual leads the opposite. They are quick to exempt themselves from responsibility. They are quick to point fingers. While my father's mates were hustling and trying to be best in life, they were dancing around masquerades. While other people were getting educated, my own was going to the farm and doing menial jobs. My friend, if you do not disregard that mindset, your own children, upon coming of age, will repeat the exact same thing as you. If a poor family comes from you, do not let a poor family come out of you. It's a decision you have to make for yourself. I said before you life and death. I said before you blessings and curses. I can't force you. I can only advise you. Choose life. Make your decision. It's time to take responsibility for everything that happens in your life. Yeah, I invested in 2010 and they demolished my house. Respectfully so. What is today's date? Is that your alibi for not investing? I was abused when I was a kid. I sympathize with you. How old are you now? I don't have a good voice. Write songs, give it to people who can sing better and they credit you. We live in a world of flimsy excuses, always pointing fingers and trying to tear down the few who are making progress. My friend, your hate doesn't affect the rich. Your hate doesn't affect the impactful. Your hate doesn't do anything as touching the greatness of individuals. Seasons of opportunities, they will come. You better be ready. And as always, my friends, the pleasure speaking to you and seeing you next time.